about people stockpiling toilet paper at the beginning. Do you remember
And Lysol.
And it was crazy. You couldn't. I was like, I want to go and wipe myself, right? And you couldn't even do it. That's gonna make anybody mad.
Right. You can't get no tissue to take care of your business in the bathroom. That'd make anybody angry and stressed out. Hello YouTube, I'm Antoine.
And I'm Antoinette.
And we're just going to have an open discussion about how the COVID-19 pandemic affected our relationship. As we know, this pandemic has been really harsh on a lot of people in our world. So we're just going to have an open discussion about that and talk about our journey during this pandemic. We've been dating for about 2 years. Literally the second year of our relationship, we met like towards the very beginning of 2019. The end of 2018, the beginning of 2019.
Yes, the end of 2018. I'm a Sagittarius, so my birthday's in December. We're talking and we had met up by the time my birthday happened.
Right.
By the time we were actually actively dating, it was 2019, like January.
We met, we dated for that year, and then the second year, boom, COVID-19 pandemic happens. We had to deal with that and the challenges we had to face during that pandemic, as well as everyone else.
One of our last dates together actually was Valentine's Day. COVID really hit the U.S.
around February, March, particularly, especially in our area. So we're in the New York City area. I live in New Jersey. She's from New York City, and I remember at the time, for me, it was like a lot of fear involved in that because I work in the hospitals in New York City. I'm a laboratory professional. By me being in an environment, hospitals were pretty much like a breeding ground for a lot of transmissions with COVID-19. During that, I was really fearful to see my girlfriend. I was worried about transmission, making her sick, and then she make her family sick potentially. So there's just a lot of worries and concerns surrounding that. Many of us probably know people who've been affected by COVID-19. Personally, I have neighbors. He's a family man. He has a nice, really well-to-do guy. He was affected by COVID-19. Unfortunately, he passed away. A neighbor literally next door to me. She actually worked at a university where I went to school. She was a really nice lady. She remembered me back in my college days. Unfortunately, she fell victim to the virus as well. So it really impacted a lot of people. It was a hard time coping through all that stuff. Fortunately for me, none of my family members got directly impacted by the virus.
Our thoughts and prayers and all of our love goes out to people who have lost people from COVID. COVID is real. It's serious. I haven't lost anyone to COVID, but my family was directly impacted. My youngest sister got COVID and she's only 15. It was really hard on my family because at the time my grandmother was around and in her late 80s and we were all very concerned about her, and I'm actually an asthmatic. So when COVID first hit, they were very concerned about people with asthma. My family was really cautious. We all had to kind of quarantine.
To your grandmother as well.
Yeah, we tried to limit my interactions with my youngest sister as possible because my asthma is actually kind of bad. For as long as I've had asthma, most years I end up going to the hospital because of a severe asthma attack. Luckily enough, that has not happened during COVID times, but mostly because I have been a shut-in and not really going outside unless I have to. Overall, COVID affected a lot of relationships. I mean, there was a spike in divorce, a spike in domestic violence situations due to COVID. We were talking about it and we were theorizing that most likely it has to do with people being stuck in the house together. A lot of people went through serious trials and tribulations. Your finances, being at close quarters with anybody can give you a little bit of cabin fever.
Even if it's people you love, a lot of our family members, as much as we love them, but you being in close proximity with anybody over a prolonged period of time, eventually you're going to start having issues, you know. That's another way pandemic affected a lot of families and relationships. People with their finances, a lot of job loss people endured during this pandemic.
I felt especially sorry for parents with young children. My heart go out to y'all because y'all the real MVPs because I couldn't have did it. They shut down the playgrounds too, remember?
They did. That's really stressful because you had to quarantine and then like even recreational things. You can't go to a bar, you can't go to like a gym. I try to go to the gym at least twice a week. It was tough for me because I was forced to work out at home. There's certain things to do at the gym that I can't do at home, and it was even impacting me with my workout routine. It was a really stressful time for a lot of people.
Even just being able to see your friends. There's nothing like having your friends around because they help you cope with a lot of things. Not having the people in your corner who you can normally vent to can be really stressful. So of course there was a rise in domestic violence, and when we talk about intimate partner violence, I'm not just talking about women. We have to also understand that men can be victims of domestic violence, and men, when they speak about it, they are oftentimes not heard. Domestic violence is wrong. It is never okay to commit violence against another person.
It's still a stressful time because we're not really over this pandemic, unfortunately, and we're still dealing with these challenges. Stress is a real thing. Stress is unavoidable, but it's all about stress management and how you cope with that stress. It's just because you might be upset or angry in a given moment, you still gotta understand how can that impact the person that you're dealing with, your family or your loved one. And we all go through it. We're human. We're really still in tough times, but you know, I think that we're all gonna get through this. We're just going to have a deep dive into like how it impacted our relationship.
The way it directly affected our relationship, you have to remember, we were only in our second year of dating. The amount of stress we were dealing with, you're finally connecting with somebody and we're having fun together and getting to know each other and really solidifying our relationship. The next thing you know, a worldwide pandemic happens.
The world shuts down.
The world shuts down. I ended up being in a quarantine zone. No one was allowed to go in and out of my area. So him and I couldn't see each other for about a good month. A month during quarantine, everything was happening. There were alien sightings. The world was burning.
Giant hornets.
Giant hornets.
Yeah, 2020 was really one for the history books.
You finding out all these different things that are happening and you're stuck and you can't even go to your partner to be your confidant, deal with the stresses of quarantine, especially when a relationship is still so new. 2 years is some time, but this was just at the 2-year mark. Like we just made it out of year 1. It was just a bit rough.
It definitely was. So all this stuff happened, as we mentioned earlier, like right on the onset of year 2. This is when boom, pandemic happens and the world shuts down, and we had to go to a series of quarantines too. It was like 3 quarantines that we had to go through. Short stretches of time we couldn't see each other. I mean, as long as it's been a month.
So then, not too long after we had to quarantine for a month and my quarantine zone was lifted, thankfully, my sister ended up getting COVID. We didn't know how she ended up getting it because she was the only one really not going outside of the house. Because of that, each one of us had to quarantine for 2 weeks. We just got off from not seeing each other for a month to then not see each other for 2 more weeks.
Fun fact, I mean not a fun fact.
None of this is fun.
Fun fact. This is a small disclaimer. Her sister's absolutely doing okay. She's well. She's doing fine. With me specifically, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I work in New York City, and that was essentially like the epicenter of COVID-19 here in the U.S. Those infection rates in New York City in 2020 were outstanding, and I was really, really fearful that me seeing my girlfriend and knowing that she has asthma, I might affect her possibly. It was really a concern to me, but we had to make a way to see each other. But we went through our long stretches of quarantines, and luckily we made it through. It was a really rough year, and we're still not really over it yet. And then we got the variant. It's just a lot of stuff still going on. We're still fighting through this pandemic, but I can say it's a little bit easier than it was last year. The world has opened up a little bit more, so that makes things a little bit better. Despite all of this, the good thing that me and my girlfriend have, we have a really good foundation. And a small disclaimer to you guys, although we had the quarantine, she doesn't live too far from me. We didn't really let this quarantine affect our relationship. At least we tried not to. We tried our best to really not let it break our bond. We were fairly new at the time. The way we cope with this is that even during quarantine, we would text each other, we would FaceTime each other. We just made sure we maintained that constant communication. We didn't let anything disrupt that. We just kept that communication going. We texting and FaceTime, the phone calls, the IG messages, etc.
The biggest thing about quarantine for us was how drastic the change in our dates were. I am a Sagittarius, so my biggest thing about dates, I like to go on adventures. I took him ziplining. It was his first time ever ziplining. I took him to the water park. It was the first time ever taking him to the water park.
I can't swim, man. Listen, I can't swim, but I had a time of my life. I really did.
I'm the kind of person who's like, yeah, let's try it. Let's find something interesting and fun, exciting to do. Because of COVID, none of our normal date time activities were possible. So even when we spent time with each other, there was not much we could do. So what we had to do was find new and inventive ways to spend time with each other, still have dates, but not have them outside. So we ended up having our Valentine's Day indoors. We both got dressed up.
Listen, we got lit. We had our champagne.
Yeah,
we made it happen.
I cooked dinner.
You did?
Yeah, and we talked and we laughed and we joked around and we watched some TV. TV has been a huge part of the way that we date now. We would find which shows we like the best and just laugh and joke.
Definitely. TV was a really good element for us to use during the pandemic to really keep us entertained and together and maintain our bond. A lot of the shows that she likes, I end up liking. She kind of forces me to watch them. So I end up liking them anyway because I kind of don't have a choice because this is stuff she loves to watch. But most of the stuff is good. So we would like, what we would do, most of it's good.
I also turned him into an anime head because I like anime.
I'm just like the standard animes like the Dragon Ball Z, back in the day, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff like that. But she got me onto some animes. Attack on Titan is a really good one.
I got her on Attack on Titan.
I'm an Attack on Titan head officially. Like she got me onto that anime, so I really like it a lot. The 90 Day Fiance, you got me watching that.
Fiance.
FYI, we got a video about that coming soon too.
Yeah,
by the
we're gonna start doing 90 Day Fiance
reaction videos as well. So yeah, like just a little spoiler for you guys interested in our channel. But yeah, like definitely that's the way we maintain our bond with television. So we found different avenues to go through to keep this thing going.
Me cooking and making meals, having our own kind of picnics.
And she cooks a really good steak. FYI, like we had to rush to make this video because she's making a steak for me right now.
And they say the way through a man's heart is through his stomach or whatever.
That's facts. That's facts, man. That's a general statement, and that might be a stereotypical thing, but for me, it's very true. I love to eat.
Yes.
Even though I may not look like it, but yeah.
And I, on the other hand, hardly ever eat, even though I look like
I gotta beg her to eat breakfast. Breakfast, like
breakfast. I don't think that's a big
I have
deal.
to like beg this person to eat lunch.
Anyway, all that to say, you gotta find new, inventive ways to date. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but just in case there is another lockdown, think about fun things that you can do with your partner. Scavenger hunts at home, exercising together is really good. Your partner is a really good person to help motivate you. Lay a picnic blanket out in the living room and have a potluck. Drinking is always good. Don't use it as a crutch, but
And,
just
you know,
have nice nights out.
And like we do, binge watch television shows. Find the shows that you guys like have a mutual interest in, and you just binge watch seasons. That kind of concludes our video. Thanks for watching. Once again, we will just like to send out all our well wishes and our thoughts and our good energy towards all the victims of the COVID-19 pandemic and many people who got affected by the pandemic. Our thoughts and prayers goes out to all the victims. We're still in this pandemic, but I'm really faithful that we're gonna get through this.
Take this time out to remember all the people that you love and that love you. Every day is a blessing, and to treat it like one.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed the video. And feel free to let us know your experience with COVID-19. And hopefully it wasn't bad, and I hope you guys didn't lose any loved ones. But if you did, like I said, our good energy goes out to you. Our prayers goes out to you and your families. But share your experience with your relationship during the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, what were your experiences? Let us know in the comments. And we really appreciate your time. But thanks for watching. Share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.
Yeah. Also, give us some tips on what else we should be watching.
Definitely. Drop some shows in the comments that you think
exactly.
we should be watching. You know, we'll check them out.
Bye, y'all.